Really? Come on. Hello everybody, welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera and then things explode. Usually in the code, often occasionally in my own brain, because I had to see some terrible stuff digging through Minecraft code. Jesus. Anyways, what we have here today is gonna be interesting because we have a bunch of changes that have happened as a consequence of the Minecraft Patron server on patreon.com/line, quick plug there, going live last week with the most recent versions of various oddities, which means that we have identified some problems. In some cases, some quite minor problems, and in some cases, some quite drastic problems. But to the best of my knowledge, they are currently fixed, so yay for that. So let's just go through all of the changes that happened here. Most of these are a result of the creature type system, because that's where we actually encountered most of these bugs, so yeah. So, the first thing that happened was that I went over to the air type, and it now has its own special ability, namely that if you have the air subtype, you can in fact fly as though you had creative mode. You don't break things any faster, you don't resist any damage, although you apparently, by hard code of how Minecraft works, don't take falling damage, which was not an intended feature, and I kinda wish I still had access to that, but oh well. But you are now able to actually creative fly, so you can fly around quite happily. I thought I would turn this off if you hit water so that you can't also technically get free, swimming, but you can't swim whilst you're flying, so you don't get the speed of that, I guess, so yeah, it's fine. But in the same patch that introduced that, we also got a change to type handler aquatic, which is used by both the aquatic subtype and the water subtype. The main distinction between those two being that aquatics can't necessarily breathe air unless they also have the amphibious subtype. Now this meant that, firstly, I had to add the distinction in our actions of whether you can breathe water or air, and it also meant I had to actually introduce an entire thing to basically re-implement Minecraft's breath system for when you are actually, on land, because the existing one would not listen to it otherwise. And this involved mixing, this involved a thing called living data, so that we now actually have that. That living data is shared by every single creature, every single living creature, so that's not just players. So if you set a mob as, being aquatic, they will also start to suffocate on land, assuming that they breathe at all. But yeah, so there's this whole other thing now, and it did actually give me some opportunities to do some fun stuff. But first, it broke tremendously. The way that it first broke was in the actions, because previously we were doing them as being subtractive, so if a given type couldn't do a thing, you couldn't do the thing. Now it is sort of collated, so you can only do the things that all of your types collectively can do. So if there's a single one that can't do a given thing, you can't do that thing. It's much easier to understand, I guess, going into it. If you're trying to build up what your types can do, you'll know a bit more ahead of time. So I did that. I also tossed in regeneration in here for funsies, because it's easier to just say that than to have to repeat stuff for different things. And basically this is all handled by living data. So living data goes through and it checks all this stuff and it just makes it run, essentially. There's a couple of things still handled by the type bus, but it's fine. But yeah, so I redid that, changed around how those actions are collated, and accidentally removed them from everybody. Basically, I put that version up onto the patron server and such, and the immediate thing we found out was no one could regenerate health naturally, no one could drown, no one could sleep. All of that was just gone. It was called the Undeafening, the Great Undeafening, because it basically meant that you were pretty much like the undead type, you just got none of the actual benefits of the undead type. The exception being that you weren't hecked by smite, so that was nice. We do have one person, I think, who's running undead inside of our patron server, and they've discovered that smite is a very powerful thing, because it deals like 2.5 times the extra damage of sharpness, which is kind of the point of using it in vanilla anyways. But yeah, like painful immortality, indeed. So I chucked a regen beacon up at spawn real quick for that to run, just whilst I was making sure they were like what the problem was. They have discovered, didn't you kill them? I was not the first to kill them. I was the person that put Smite 5 onto a Penderite, I think it was, Battle Axe in that mod pack, and then killed them. For science, it one-hit them from full health. But yeah, so we got that fixed, and then people were able to breathe again, whereupon we then found another problem, which was that everyone had quote-unquote infinite air. They went underwater, and their bubbles meter was off the screen to the other side. And the reason for that was there is a function in entities that returns essentially what their lung capacity is. It's how the absolute max their air bar can get to. Knowing that can be overridden by hecking anything, I figured it wise to just presume it was very big and then measure it down. So, the air in living data initializes with 1 full day. That's about 20 minutes of air. Or about, your max usually is 15 seconds, so that's about 80 times your lung capacity. What I forgot was that at no point in here did it actually set it back down to your maximum air. So you just started with essentially a free air tank with no refills. It had to go down or you had to die. That was the only way that it actually got set to the proper value. But that has been fixed as well. That's not currently in the version that's out, but a day of free air is not a game-breaking bug. You'll wear it out eventually, at the very least. Because it doesn't tick back up until you're below get max air. So as long as you're in the water, it's just ticking away at that surplus. So not game breaking, funny, but not game breaking. So not a huge priority. I think other than that, the most recent change was also that water types and aquatic types now get a 5 times speed increase when they are mining anything underwater, which essentially just negates the calculation for being underwater. If you're underwater, you mine much slower. You mine 5 times slower, so water and aquatic types now mine 5 times faster, cancelling that out. You still get the slowdown of 5 times slower if you are in if you're in mid-air, so to speak, if you're not on solid ground, which is the same thing that you get if you're flying. So now they're sort of in line with the air type. So if you're flying and you've got the air type, then you still have the same speed as somebody who's sinking whilst they're in water. But if you're on solid ground whilst you're in water, you're fine. I'm rambling slightly. My words are weird. Oh, hey, Cam. How you doing? How you like your air free? I mean, yeah, ideally. Someone did ask if fire subtypes can see in lava. The answer is no. The reason being that if we... Let me just check the thing here. The mist that you see under, in a liquid is based on the fog. And it is not a simple thing, suffice it to say. There we have it. That's just to set up the color, by the way. All of this is just to set up the color. And let's see, that's the fog color. Where is setup fog? There is setup fog. This determines actually how much fog there is, and such. And it is dense. So if I wanted to come in here and change the degree of fog based on whether you have the fire subtype, I would need to basically revert a bunch of changes, add my adjustments and such, and then go all the way through. There are events for doing that, fog density, fog render, that kind of thing, but it's not my forte in the least. So, it's not currently a priority. But, there is another thing that I did. Let's see, where are you? Just so I can make sure that we actually see something. Because right now they don't really have much of an inventory to use with. There. Okay, boot. Can't wait until we get to the stage of capitalism where we have to pay for air. We already do! It's called smog and pollution. If you ever wonder part of why the nicer neighborhoods always tend to have much cleaner air, it's because you're paying for the air. Oh, Nin's in the Ender Dragon type? Nice. Nin is a lovely bean. An adorable Froge. Also, Nin has ridiculously amazing eyes. It's gorgeous. Okay. And then, of course, I guess also in like the areas that have the worst of like air pollution and such, you can also make a killing selling like masks. Just because capitalism ruins everything. So, anyways, here we are. Oh, right. Yes, I forgot another thing. Hang on. Oh, yeah, I've met Nin in real life. Dusty. The pattern on their sclera is amazing to see. Is it the sclera? Which one isn't the white? Is it the pupil I'm thinking of? Or is the pupil just the black dot in the middle? I don't remember. Suffice to say, they have amazing looking eyes. If you saw them, you would almost swear that they come from like an anime convention and were wearing fancy contacts. Like they're that cool. The iris? Yes, thank you. Yeah. Nin's irises are really cool. There we go. Okay. So yeah. Borrowed and then extremely heavily reworked some code from foxes so that now our wargs can hold stuff in their mouths. The wargs not so much yet, but the wargs can. And it even accounts for their shortened snoots, like there. Sclera is the white cereals, pupils the black in the center, the part between them is the iris. I mean, technically speaking, the black is a hole that's just like, there's no light coming from inside of your eye, because then your eye is doing very weird things. But, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, we got that going. So today, the first thing that we're going to be doing is getting our nice, wonderful, popper here to actually play fetch. And I don't seem to be able to make you stand. That's interesting. I could have sworn I did that, but then maybe it's because you have no AI. Alright, use data. Data, modify, entity, that one. There you go. Okay. Come on, over here. Thanking ye. Maybe light isn't coming out of your eye, but I'm built different. I mean, that would make it extremely difficult to see. It's like it's like a common thing with like Superman is like if there are laser beams coming out of your eyes, then firstly the light inside of your eyes is going to be predominantly the same as that laser beam. Secondly, there's not going to be much in the way of light from outside coming in, which means you are blind. Your vision turns red, and that is all that you've got. Superman is built different? I mean, quite literally. Because he can shoot laser beams from his eyes, or heat beams, I guess, to be more specific, but for all intents and purposes, they're laser beams. I cannot think. Like, Superman's superpowers are bizarre, and they are ostensibly a product of his Kryptonian physiology operating under the light of Earth's yellow sun. But what species evolves to the point where their main attack renders them blind? Maybe he can see frequencies higher than our visual spectrum? I mean, he has X-ray vision. I don't know if, like, X-ray vision and his heat beams are an extension, because definitely, like, heat is a form of radiation, as are X-rays. In which case, is he just, like, violently irradiating anything he looks at? But also, if it's visible, then it's gonna be covering up the visible spectrum. It's like, come on. Okay. So today we are chiefly checking fetch stuff. And once we've got fetch stuff going, we're gonna be going for follow nearby goblin tamers, and then we'll hopefully be getting the goblin tamers to actually, like, interact with them a bit. He sees in gamma rays. Ugh. I'm suddenly reminded of Battlestar Galactica. There is a magnificent spiel given by one of the Cylons from the reboot series, the more recent series, where he like is talking about he's talking essentially to his god, who created him in like human image, and is like. His main thing is, you could have made me so much better. Like, honestly, let me dig up this this spiel, because I absolutely adore it. It is my most endearing memory of that series, and it is such a good thing. Is this the old-looking Cylon? Yeah, the priest, I think his name is. There we are. Okay, from John Cavill's Cylon Model Number 1 in Battlestar Galactica. I don't want to be human. I want to see gamma rays, I want to hear X-rays, and I want to smell dark matter. Do you see the absurdity of what I am? I can't even express these things properly because I have to conceptualize complex ideas in this stupid, limiting, spoken language. But I know I want to reach out with something other than these prehensile paws and feel the solar wind of a supernova flowing over me. I'm a machine, and I can know much more. Oh, shivers. It is such a good monologue. It's like, yeah, we're limited by the things that made us. we're limited by the environment that created us, and we're limited by the things that we've had to do to survive in that environment and deal with being in that environment. But we can be so much more. All we have to do is know it. It's so beautiful. I love it. It's coming from a weird place, Battlestar Galactica villain Cylon, but still. I love that speech. It's beautiful. Neutrinos, so he's pretty much killing anyone he looks like. I mean, he's killing anyone he looks like when he's using heat vision anyways. Just as a writ. Okay. We need to go and make ourselves a new AI task for our warg. Thank you. There we go. Yeah, if you get a chance, just like look up look up that speech on YouTube, because the actor whose name escapes me is very long-standing actor, who does that is really good and on the point of it. So good. Okay, sets mutex flags. We're going to need to take control of our looking as well as our walking. Let me just quickly bring up the old code from 112. I do still have various equipment, more or less just sitting ready. It could be released right now, I just want to make sure I get the dependency in first, but I have still had no luck whatsoever in implementing that, so... You'd think that'd be the easiest thing in the world, but no. Here's a question, do we want the wargs to fetch? I feel like we don't. Okay, so here's what that used to be. Relatively straightforward, but it's mostly a state engine. Yes, go away. I think most of this is fine. Okay, yeah. In fact, pretty much I think all of this I can clone. Just gotta change some function names here and there. Yep, yep, yes, yep. That needs to be living entity, and that needs to be item entity. Would this be anti-navigator? Or just navigator? I don't remember anymore. Let's see, Wanderer. Probably the worst choice there is the gas link for me to have checked. Path Navigator. Right, it's flag beam action. I always forget that. My favorite lines in Star Trek is that when the Picard references with the first link the chains force for speech. Oh yeah, it's about liberty and how you have to be extremely careful in how you infringe it. Unfortunately, the part where it says the first link, a bunch of people have taken to mean if you infringe liberty in any fashion, for any reason, we're all covered. Which is not the case. Liberty cannot be unlimited. It should be as unlimited as like reasonably possible, but if you don't leave it unlimited, then people are free to infringe upon the liberties of others. Liberty can be unlimited? No, it absolutely can be. And moreover, it should. Oh, I've forgotten his Matt Dillahunty, I think, has a recurring phrase he likes to use, which was, "Your right to swing your arm ends at my nose." And that is the key essence. You can't have unlimited liberty, because essentially it's the paradox of intolerance. If you're not intolerant of intolerance, then the tolerant people just get wiped out. Unfortunately. Yeah, Matt Dillahunty. I used to watch him back during my like Redditor atheist phase, but his that phrase has stuck with me a bit. If you let both wolves and sheep in the same space, only wolves will be left. Correct. That's why you gotta be careful. Cannot set to... Interesting. Let's check the item entity. See if it's got a handler for that then. Natural selection no longer applies to our society. Yeah, absolutely. But social Evolution certainly does. I mean, we saw that most recently in the 1940s. And a lot more recently as well. It just won't die out. Okay, there's gotta be a point in here where it checks what its item is. They are? Okay, so we want to see if it checks for the count of the item. Because if it doesn't destroy itself when it realizes it doesn't have any items in it, then we need to actually make sure we set it to be dead. There we are. Every tick, if the item is empty, remove. Okay, that's fine. But we can also just do that. Just absolutely certain. Most of this old code looks to be fine and good. We shouldn't need to worry about it. Just gotta change the variable names here or there to make it actually fit the most current thing. Good old naming conventions? Yeah, they messed them up a lot for this, and I don't know why. Apparently it's to fit in with Microsoft, which makes even less sense to me. They basically inverted the naming scheme. Nearly a decade later, and then they decide to just completely invert the... What do I mean? Okay, let's easy to show off really here. So you notice in here, everything here starts with entity and then its specific type, and then it's basically you start at the biggest bulk of the type and then you move down the tree. So we have entity crab giant, we have entity crab here, we have another one, entity kobold, entity marimo, entity rat giant up here. So it's really easy to find things, because you just go by, what am I looking for? An entity. Okay, what kind of entity? Say a crab. Okay, what kind of crab? Well, a giant one. Okay, you found all three parts. Entity, crab, giant. You know exactly what you're looking for. But more recently, heck if I know why, they reversed it. So instead of entity creeper, it's now creeper entity. So if I just typed in creeper here, you get every part relating to a creeper, but you don't get every part relating to parts of what that creeper should be. And also I should note, these are like first entries, so if I just type in entity, you'll notice I only find my stuff. I don't see any of the like vanilla stuff in here. It's because it starts at the left hand side, moves to the right. Is that the Forge team reversing that? No, that's Mojang really reversing that. Forge just translates it. It's... Oi. Lord knows. Lord knows. And the word I've heard is that that's like because they got bought out by Microsoft, so now they do things more on Microsoft's kind of manner. But it's just... Oi. Can you use wildcards? I mean, probably, but you shouldn't you shouldn't need to. It's programming 101 to do it, from large to smallest. Most to least. It's like literally programming 101. Okay. Let's see. Have to entity? Apparently we need an integer. What is the integer it's asking for? Speed? No, that wouldn't be given it an integer. So the last value... Ah, distance. It's looking for maximum search. Okay. Say 4 then, because that's our maximum search distance anyways. Did not press a link. There's a few things that the thing will detect as potentially being a link. And it tends to err on the side of caution because people on the internet are kind of douchebags and will occasionally find ways to get around censors if they exist. So... better to use a big hammer that occasionally catches the wrong person than a small hammer that never catches anybody. Essentially. Okay, what is the function now for damaging an item in a stack? It's literally just damage item. Okay. So why does that fail? Because it needs to know what to do on... but, it takes the amounts, the entity, and then some kind of consumer. Okay. Lying advocating for collateral damage. No, lying advocating for functional moderation. Okay, let's see if we can find an example of that's like. What are there some things where that happens? Send break animation? Okay, we can just give it an empty then. It's probably fine. Entity drop item, is that a thing? Yep, that'll do. Right. So we plug this in and we should be able... let's see, they have to be not sitting. Well, if they're sitting, then we don't do it. If they're not tame, we don't do it. If they have an attack target, we don't do it. And if they are currently holding an item, then we don't do it. Right. One thing we did contemplate is if they're holding an item, if you give them an item, they're holding an item, so then they should, like, do stuff. Do we want it to be then that they will essentially pick up an item and then they'll re-engage their following? Or do we want it to be like, you then have to right-click them to get the item from them or just drop it, that kind of thing. What do when cat on desk but not enough room for cat? Bigger desk, logically. Okay. What did I have this as before in terms of their priorities? Formerly, it was a 2. So yeah, as is with just, I guess, sort of out of spite more than anything else, I am naming all of my stuff the correct way. And stay with me, smaller cat. Oh, you mean Dusty should also get a kitten? Yes. They can have a big cat for the bed and a smaller cat for the desk. 2 cats. Unfortunately, cats aren't region limited, so they will like cross over into other spaces. You have 2 hands, Dusty. You can hold 2 cats at once. Okay. Let's see if we can get this to work. Okay. You stand up first. Now let me see, what did I say that you will autonomically try to fetch? You're looking for, let's see, bones or foot armor. So, your slippers, essentially. So let's grab ourselves some booties. You gonna pick up the boots? Come on. Boots. Do the thing. I feel like... yeah, I think I know what's going on. I think by the looks of things, he's frozen it in place because there is one other thing that changed with this. Instead of update task, they changed it to tick. Why? I don't know. but they did. So let's see. Yep. 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 Just checking all the function names here. That looks good. Okay. And all that's my code, so that should be fine. Wait. Is there a cat holster patent? There is absolutely, like, papoose, I guess is the phrase. There are absolutely papooses for, like, cats. Dusty opens their transcoat to reveal 10 cats in pockets on the inside. Oh, the dream. Okay, now you should be able to actually update. Hey, booked. Come on. Yeah, that might be a bit too far from you, actually. Okay, fine. I'll pick up my own dang boots. There. Would you kindly? Come on, that's really close. You can do this. I believe in you. Trouble with a task system is it's kind of selects randomly, so consequently it will occasionally just take forever to do what you want it to do. You're being a very fussy doggo, you know that? Okay, he's looking at it. That's progress. He moved over to it. He's definitely very fixated on the boots. Come on. I believe in you. This is good. It means we've reached a state. Next question, why aren't we changing state? Let's see, moving... Okay. If the distance is greater than 0.75, continue trying to move. Okay. And then once you've done that, clear the path and then set to fetching, meaning pick it up. And then the next one's moving to owner. And Toggo cannot be told. A fetcher, or is he really a pointer? I mean, I guess he could be a pointer. Flashback to React components. Oh yeah, yeah. Minecraft's AI system is... it's okay for most things, but it is not built for intelligent action. Like, there's a list of things that every mob can do in like a degree of priority, and then it randomly selects from them. So it can't really build comprehensive, like, intelligent behaviors. It just sort of fakes it most of the time. And that's fine when you're only simulating, like, brain-dead zombies or animals, because they're not really planning anything. It's a little harder when you have things like the pillagers, because they actually conduct like actual military attacks and such. Kind of defeats the name artificial intelligence. Yes and no. A task system is a valid means of creating video game intelligence. It's not really intelligence. Each individual action can be something smart, for instance. Like here we have, this is a task, it is randomly selected, it's inserted into the AI, but it has like 3 different states. Moving, picking up the item, moving back, that kind of thing. So, tell you what though, if we have follow owner, then we can probably just get rid of that stage. Because they should just come over to you anyways. So that in that way, we would just need to have these 2. So let's just get rid of moving to owner. And then we almost don't even need fetching, actually, because we can just move to the bone and do the thing. So we can actually just simplify this a whole bunch. And I can just set current state to null. But in that case, it would be chiefly they currently only pick up one thing. So if there's a stack of bones, they'll only pick up one. Should we just have them pick up the entire stack? That's probably fine, I think. So let's see, the stack, yeah, can just be health stack. So if they're greater than 0.75 blocks away, continue trying to move, otherwise, do the thing. Oh, we do need to tell the bone to, like, go away. The bone, as it were. So let's see. The bone does not equal null, and the bone is alive. Which it won't be the second that we do the thing. And the warg.getAttackTarget equals null. Which means we don't need that. So essentially we've broken this down to very, very little going on. Streamlined it. We're taking advantage of the fact that we already have an AI test that makes them walk towards their owner anyways. We don't drop it, but that's fine. We can just add a thing to our warg to say if you right-click them, you take it out of their mouth, which is fine because we also want to give players the capacity to set what's in their mouth. Swords, for instance. So that should be fine. Do we need access to the owner? No, we don't. And right now they'll pick it up and immediately drop it. So let's just get rid of that call as well. I don't think we need to set the owner to null because we just grab them up here anyways. If the owner equals null, or the owner's distance to the warg is greater than 6. That probably would actually not help us too much in this particular case. Maybe they'll just pick up things anywhere. We do a search for like 12 blocks. Let's say their max range is like 6. In fact, let's do it one better and say there's an input here. Okay, just plonk that to there. Right, then we'll have an error in entity warg, but that's fine, because we can just add a number here, essentially. And we're going to say 60. Okay. So, that should all be good. Bone does not equal null, bone is alive, meaning we have a target and it still exists. And the attack targets is null. We should also say as long as we're not sitting. If we tell our wargs to sit, we want them to stop being fixated on something. So that should be good. Yeah, we can check the feet armor section up here, that's fine. I think that's okay. Right. So what we should see, fingers crossed, is the warg goes up to the boots and picks them up. That is the extent and totality of this function, essentially. You could think of it kind of like when a zombie picks up armor, except we're actually telling the zombie to move over to the armor. But it's then modified into being fetch by virtue of the existence of the follow command, meaning they'll walk over to you. That is an example of how things like GOAP work, goal-oriented action planning. It's a series of discrete actions, but the way in which they're connected and like strung together makes them seem intelligent. Okay, there you go. Give him a second. Hopefully he'll move over to it. Okay, there you go. Grant. Close enough. Okay. So I can just nudge you. Hopefully to not the same point. Hey, grand, you got it. Hooray! So we've clearly got some troubles. Including with how that's being animated. Okay, that's a bit odd. I'm not great with graphics, so there are going to be some slight glitches. But they got it. Okay. We have no means of getting it back currently, but you picked it up, which is good. And I will be back after a short break to continue work on that. So see you in about 10 minutes, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. So, just before we left off there, we more or less successfully got our warg to pick up a thing, and now they won't do a thing again until we can get it out of their mouth. So, we need to add a little bit of code here, and I have a sneaking suspicion cows might actually have exactly what we're looking for here. Yeah, there we go. So, play the sound, fill the thing, set the held item. Okay, that's what I'm looking for here, essentially. I'm looking for if get held item main hand that is empty. Nope, I mistyped that. 1 second. Lowercase h. There we go. So if it's not there, then let's see, if it's not empty, then we're holding an item. So we want to give that item to whomever clicked us. So in that case, we want to say, we know it's going to be a player, so we can just add it to our inventory theoretically. There's no handling here for it ending up in a different place. Is there a vanilla mob that you can just right click a whole bunch of stuff on? I don't particularly want to have it drop the item, because then it might just engage its fetching behavior again and pick it up. So ideally want to give it directly to the player that's actually, like, clicking on us. And player equals... oh, this is owner. There we go. So only the owner can take out what a particular warg is actually like working with. The armor stand? Armor stand's a good whack, thank you very much. Technically a mob, it is. It's a living entity, which means you actually share a common ancestor. Players, most mobs, and armor stands all have a common ancestor at living entity. What a strange world we live in. Okay, so somewhere in here is the apply player interaction. There we go. Is that what we're looking at here? No, we're looking for Funk 23254, which I believe is a different one. Player entity, vector, yeah, so it can tell where you're actually pointing at. But there should be code in here nonetheless for what we're looking for. Equip or swap? I don't think that's what we're looking for. Item stack is empty. Equip or swap. Let's see what that does. Okay. Copy set count set to slot. Nope. Copy set count set to slot and shrink. Set held item. Apparently that's mostly just the same as the cow, actually. Which, you know, I guess we'll take. Reminded of the walking mannequins in Skyrim. I mean, you can make walking mannequins, but... okay. So... if held item is empty, then... player.set held item in that hand to get held item main hand. Now we have to remember to also set what we're holding to nothing. Because otherwise, we just get a whole ton of them, essentially. Entity equipment slot type used to be what it was, but nope, equipment slot type. No? I forget. Oh, it's just not here. That's fine. But that's... are you telling me that there's... oh, goody. Oh, goody, there's multiple. Equipment slot type. What does it set stack in slot then? Oh, goody. What am I missing here? Oh, wait, no, we literally just used this in Warg Fetch, didn't we? Set held item. That'll do. That will do. And you're looking for hand and then that thing. Okay. Right. That should mean that if we right-click them with an empty hand, that we're actually able to retrieve whatever item they're holding. Make an exception for a random item like a wooden button or something. Sneaky cheap for getting infinite, something that's easy to get. I'd rather not. Because I know somebody will find some way to make, like, a ridiculous boost out of that. I have a bunch of power gamers on the Patreon server. I've learned at the best of times not to build, do my designing predicated upon their existence, but it's generally best not to intentionally include an infinite. If you can, at least. Also, why would a warg give infinite buttons? Okay, so if we right-click you with that, we get our boots back, and they're a little damaged. Let me see. Now, yeah, they've taken 1 point of damage from our warg picking them up, because wargs will retrieve things, but they're not necessarily the the most delicate. Come on. At that distance, I would be astonished if you couldn't. Come on. There you go. Okay. So we do need to fix them actually, like... Whoop. We do need to fix them actually getting within range to pick them up, but once they're in range, they do pick them up. Like Air, who managed to exploit boats. Oh, yeah. Do not give us something infinite. Absolutely. Yeah. Hi. That was part of the New Helena map. And the thing was that the New Helena map was a series of very heavily, like, separated islands. And there was somebody that you could give, like, gold coins to, and they would teleport you to the other island, like a ferryman, essentially. But you could also buy a boat. And you could also trade in boats. Then people realized they could craft their own boats really cheaply and sell them for a profit. So yeah, we don't do that anymore. Okay, so that should actually make them not stand up when we do that now. Let's just head over to here and see if we can't figure out. Like, we should be able... that second value is just speed, isn't it? Yes. Okay, so why do we stop moving? Can the dogs find things of varying rarity whilst on walkabout, like when they added that item holding Pokemon? So sort of like dog meat has found something? Maybe. But theoretically, like if you did that in Fallout, then it's those things that dog meat finds are either, I think, heavily predicated like on design, so you don't just find like a really sweet thing. But in Minecraft, you can just go on a server and like walk away from the computer, like go get groceries or something for several hours. If we create an item farm essentially that is literally just stand in an area with a warg or 16, probably not good. Say greater than or equal to. Maybe that'll sort them out. Guess daylight savings happened? Yep. Welcome to BST, everybody. In March. In a really cold and wet March, but yeah. Okay, so I want you to also be able to feed them, so I guess we move this down to here. So but anybody can feed them, but the owner is the one that can take things out of their hand. That's toggling sitting. Now back at you being at 2 PM for me instead of 3. Goody? What happened was we could buy wood and we could sell boats. So we sold a boat, bought wood, then sold 2 boats with that wood. Right. Okay, that's how you did it. I'm gonna ask if the player is sneaking for the unsitting part. That should solve things a little bit here. Player, set held item with that hand, our current main one, and then set. We actually need to know what the player is holding, which we actually already do. Hang on, come to think of it, we have held item. Okay. So if it's food, we try to consume it. Or go into the breeding state, whichever. If it's an owner trying to give us an item, then we go through and cause it to we swap our held item with the wargs held item, even if that means nothing. If they're sneaking, then we also do that part. But, if they're sneaking and it's the owner, I think that should be up. Okay, else do the switcheroo. Because we don't want other people to be able to remove things from wargs. Because if you've tricked your warg out for battle, for instance, like maybe you've given them maybe you've given them a nice sword, it doesn't make much sense for another player to walk up and just grab the sword out of their mouth. If the item is a bowl, the dog will run away after you take it, then turn around and beg, asking you to throw it again. There is so much I would need to program for that. A bouncy ball does sound like an entertaining thing to add to various equipment, though. I will say. Okay, so if you're the owner, and you're sneaking, then it toggles what they're, it toggles their sitting. Otherwise, they swap whatever's between its mouth and your hand. That should mean that we can now actually discreetly control this a bit better. I read 17 Celsius, you think, a balmy day. I'd love 17. I would be happy with, early 20s right now. But I like warmth, and a lot of my wardrobe is predicated upon, a nice summer day kind of thing. So, no surprise there. Okay. Come on, over here a sec. Need to see if I can give this to you. And I can. So when they fetch, they'll damage it. But if you right-click it just on them. Very good. Hey! Come back here. Good boy. Who's a good boy? And if I sneak... if I do that and I'm sneaking, then... yeah, there we go. I evidently need to change a little bit where the point of rotation is on this thing, but it's doing fine. Works well enough. Yeah, it's clearly it's a little off to the side there, I think. Okay, good. Next, we need to fix up why they're... well, first let's check if I somehow miraculously fixed it. But we need to make sure they actually pick up the item, or else they're not really fetching, are they? Doesn't really do much if they're just, sitting there. Over there. Okay, come on. You have very little AI. Will it only pick up what the owner throws, or just pick up whatever's near? Whatever is near. No. Okay. So it's still more than 3/4 of a block away. Let's have a look at zombies. Because zombies can pick stuff up. Which I guess is part of the mob entity. Let's see how they'd go about it. They don't move up to it, but you do detect a certain range, so... let's see if we can't find out. Persistence required, can pick up loot. Okay, that's gotta get calls from somewhere. Living tick, okay. Can pick up loots, entities within 1 block away. Okay. So let's say that our wargs can pick things up from a block away. Why not? Does it need that radius attraction thing that players have? It's the exact same thing as zombies, basically. The crucial part is that we make them walk over to it, which is distinct from zombies. My guess is that the Pathfinder gets within like a block and then doesn't know what to do, so it's just stopping. Yeah, functionally every player can pick up loot on. It'd be interesting if we could actually alter that about players. If we could like say that a given player actually doesn't have that auto pickup radius. Because then you'd be reliant on chests and stuff. That'd be interesting. Okay, can you pick that up for me, boy? Pick up that can. Come on. Hey! Good boy! He did the thing! He did the thing, everybody! Nice. Is this a little more damaged? A little? No, it's random, but yay! Can hear my DM voice speaking. Really? the pick up that can line. Oh, or being able to say that players, it'd be nice to make players not pick things up. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Okay, I think there's like one little extra thing that we can add to really make this go, and that would be the warg. Or but the navigator. Try move to the owner. Yeah, just to finish that up. We don't need to know if it works or not. Just try. And that'll be that they more, like, immediately try and head over. Okay. Nice, nice. So that is another thing to tick off our list. Fetching. Good. Oh, there's a lot more for wargs. But now we need to check this part, because we found out with our genetics earlier that they're not 100% working. So I need to know if they'll actually cross their genes and such. In which case, let's that just makes a. Let's turn off making a warg for the time being, and let's also turn off mutation for the moment, because I want to know just like a rote, did these things cross and make a thing? Yeah, this is the line essentially that I need to test. So we get ourselves 2 wargs, breed them, and check what the DNA is of the offspring. Can pick up loot is strictly speaking defined in mob entity rather than living entity, so it's not shared with players, but it is functionally the same thing. One step away. No, no, that is a very different thing, Air. That is an extremely different thing, and not something that should be necessarily joked about. Okay, over here, boy. No, get back over here, please. Thank you very much. There you go, sit down. So you need to shift and right-click them to actually make them sit, but you can just feed whatever item you like to their mouths up to that point. Okay, let me just get rid of a bunch of stuff here. Okay. Oh, not that. That. Okay. So their breed, like what their like coat is colored, is entirely random. That is not related to to the genetics. It's just a 50-50 of which parent they get it from. But I'm going to need to tame you, aren't I? So let's just grab ourselves some bones. Grand. Okay, and you definitely have different genetics. Because you've got... Yeah, you appear to have a long snoot and no floppy ears. Okay, so what your genes should be about 0 then, I think. Near to 0. Data, get entity, that one. Gene value is... Where are we? Genes, 224. Yeah, okay. Let's lock that up. And we're also going to give you guys names just so I can tell you apart. Which used to be a lot easier, and then they made names mandatorily and a text component. So let's... What are some good names? Adam and Eve, everybody? What do we think? What's a good pair of names? Toby? Toby and Turner, maybe? No, that'd be a terrible idea. Kieran and Dave, Jane and Tarzan. Wilbur? No. I'm not doing that. Okay, so what was your value again? 224. Whereas I'm fairly certain the one for you... is 15. 224 is like the default, essentially. So, randomness might not work there. Fuzz and Crumpet. Dog and other dog. Imagine. There. Okay. So, Capuchin has a value of 15. And Astoria has a value of 224. Just exit that to make them be quiet. So I need to just value what these are. So I'm hitting negative instead of times here. That's a bad start. Okay. This is just a quick way for me to get a look at what their values are, because they're changed on a bit-by-bit basis, so when we breed them, what we should see is that we end up with one of these values rather than a mutation or anything else. Don't. Okay. So there's the genes. So if we breathe them across, we should see this one stays 0 because there's no mutation. And then over here it should be 50-50, and over here it should be 50-50. What we can also do is change Astoria's values a little bit so that at least one of these is guaranteed to be on. So let's go with those. Okay. So Capuchin needs a genes value of 79. And Astoria needs a genes value of 226. Okay. Which should have meant Astoria had, like, one of these genetic details, but I don't see any. Did I write that wrong? Genes negative 30. How? How did you manage that? Hang on, I'm going way off here, I think. Well, I tried to fix things, and then I accidentally created a mutant of some description. There are 8 bits, I know that much. And that is going to be their scaling, okay. How did I manage to make a negative 30? Like, that is the value they should add up to. Hashtag maps. Yeah, my least... Well, not my least favorite thing, but not something I'm necessarily great at. Is Capuchin still at 79 then? Capuchin is at 79. Okay, so there is something wrong with how I set this in Astoria then. $226, was that the one we went with? Yes. Okay. Now 0, apparently. Still 0. Interesting. There is a problem with how this is being read through, I think. Let's see. Integer value. Integer value. Seems correct. Yeah, it should just be an integer value, so I don't know quite what's going on here. Negative 30. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, yeah, there are... Well, we were checking if there were problems with the genetics, and there are problems with the genetics. Oh, lordy. Genetics is an integer, right? Yes, it's an integer. Okay, good. Just checking that real quick. Initializing as the default value, which is 224, because initially wargs just have that. Because those are the genes that goblins find most useful. And goblins are the ones that initially create wargs. After that, they start getting weirder. Okay, so that should be good. Get data manager, get genetics integer value, should be fine. Put int, yes, good. Get byte. Ah, that's it. That's probably what's causing it, right there. It's The reason that I switched to using an integer over using a byte is that bytes have a 255 range, but they're polarized? What's the word? Signed, which means they can be negative or positive. So it's 255, but one side only goes up to 128, and the other goes down to negative 128, essentially. So, yeah. That should fix that problem. So Capuchin didn't have a problem because their value is less than 128, so it wasn't getting that problem. Astoria's is greater than 128, so it was getting reversed, essentially. That's what was going wrong there. Good job. Welcome to a programming stream. If it's not me yelling at what Minecraft decided to do, it's frequently me yelling at what I did silly. But okay, I'm glad I caught that. The great undeafening, as we described earlier, was not something I caught in testing, somehow. Okay, now we should be able to set Astoria to the right value. Programming in a nutshell? Oh yeah. What's funny as heck? Yeah, I mean, I'm glad it was for you. I hope nobody else saw that bug. Okay, it was 226? Yes. Genes, 226. Okay. You guys are now exactly what I expect you to be. Right. Okay, we have a slight problem. Namely, that if we try to give them bones, if we try to, like, make them breed, we just give them the bones. Okay. Is food item. Do bones count? No, they don't. Okay. For begging, nope, not what we want. Oh, I'm in the wrong class here, I think. There we go. Okay, so if it's a bone and get growing age equals 0. There. Just let it run through all of those, and if any of them work, then fine. But we don't necessarily want to get stuck halfway through one. So if it's food... Wait, get held out of that is... No. do I need to do that? That's the question here. Their diet is fairly decently expanded upon. I think it's fine. Retrieves treat. Thank you, I should leave this in another room. Yeah, basically. I think I will just say if it's food. I mean, that should be fine. Is food item essentially describes the kind of foods these things eat, so... all good there. So heal, if they're creative, yep, do that. Goods, goods. Held item is bone, and a growing age is that, then do that. Yes, good. If they're the owner, then we can go through all of that. Right. That should mean that we can actually do the thing. I was trying to think of a more delicate way to put what we're about to do, but yeah. They can hold an entire stack of items, it's worth noting. Don't know how much use that is under most circumstances, but they can hold an entire stack. But unlike the Mage Hand of 112, they don't try deliberately to, like, fill a stack. The Mage Hand in the 112 version of Varus Oddities was significantly more intelligent. It will pick up a stack and then it will check around that stack for more instances of the same item. Okay, so if I do that, and I do that. Okay, sit. And do I need to tame you? I guess I do. Yep, good. Right. So you have a lolling tongue, you have one ear, and I'm just gonna call you something else, I don't know. Wait, oh. What's free? There we go. Good enough. Let's check your genes then. Okay, Les Enfants has genetics of... Let's see, the genes value is 234. So that's the value that I need to hit whilst I'm going through here, essentially. Well, we almost definitely have this value. Okay. So as predicted, they have both the values that both of their parents had, so that's good to see. They have no mutations, as near as I can tell, and they do have a value that is 1 in their the values that aren't identical on their parents are at least a value. So there's no 16, there is a 2, there is a 64. Good, okay. Now to do that again, just to be sure. Giving you guys some interesting sensations here. We're getting completely rid of the afterglow. Yeah, Capuchin. Okay. No, thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're a naughty one. There we go. Okay, come on, follow me. Over here. I should go stop getting rid of my anvil and my name tag, shouldn't I? While I'm doing this. Okay. What is your genetics? Let's see. Erebus's value is 98. So once again, yeah, we are seeing a good pattern here. No ones in any category that their parents did not have a 1. Okay, I think that means this is working. Okay, Erebus, les enfants, over here. Erebus, come on, over here. There we go. Thank you, family. So yeah, we got wonky ear over here, and we got another wonky ear over here, and we got a lolling tongue. I don't think anyone inherited Capuchin's short snout. Which I believe is that. Yeah, no one did. But okay, if it works for any of them, then it works for all of them. Hurrah. We've verified then that genetics work. And the random mutations fine. There, that should be good. Okay. There was a second thing I cloned out, wasn't it? Yes, the genes for making them be wargs. Okay. And they also all ended up with the same color, which is also a good thing, but that's not... That's a simple yes or no thing. Like right down here. That's very simple. I could make the colors more complex than that, but there's 3 of them, so I would need at least 2 bits to do it. And if I did use 2 bits for it, then I would have up to 4 potential outputs. So I would need to have another color, and there would be the possibility for mutation in those bits, so you could breed 2 wargs together and get a completely different color of warg. So it's better to just have it this way. If I wanted to really start doing that, I would probably just have like a base texture, and then like a color variable that gets mutated and like read between the two. What about meat? They heal by eating. They do indeed. Yes. Their food items, if I just check for Abstract Goblin Wolf, are rotten flesh, raw chicken, raw mutton, raw beef, raw pork chop, raw salmon, and tropical fish. Again, if you feed them with any of those, they will heal up. But they only breed from bones. I can imagine many a situation as well where a player is like frantically right-clicking on them to try and get them to like be tamed, and then just the first thing you see is the sitting one is them sitting down with bones in their mouth. Makes sense, I guess. Okay, so yes, we have verified their breeding. Hooray. So now we get to go to some of the less pleasant parts, which is why their root class is called Abstract Goblin Wolf. It's because goblins have an thing to them as well. Just thinking here, how do I want to... I'm wondering if I want to have like separate goblin classes for all of these. So goblin child is just a basic goblin, but then goblin warg tamer is like a subclass. It'll mean things are not so much of a problem, but it will also mean a bunch of repeated code in parts and such. And plus, when the child grows up and decides to become a warg tamer, for instance, they'll have to be replaced with with an otherwise identical adult. Well, for now, let's just keep it as is. This essentially is a controller system that I had to implement just to make Minecraft's AI work a little bit more predictably. Let's see. Breed, fight, heal, hurt, and tame. The main things that goblins do with wargs. But okay, here is Entity AI Warg Follow Goblin. This is fairly simple. It's basically Follow Owner, but for untamed wargs. So we need another AI task. It's relatively like mishmash as to how I categorize this. Is this a hostile or a passive task? Because if they're following goblins, they're untamed wargs, so they probably should do the other thing. An untamed warg, which is a warg you haven't tamed, a player hasn't tamed, is essentially under goblin control. At most. So they will be much more given to murdering you. Cloning my own code here. Start. Yep, good. Looks pretty fine, I think. code from all of the refactoring that got done. Half-formed comments percolating, but brain go crunch today? Oh. No. No?
Hello, Mr.
Warden.
Lying in Bedman streamer.
Hi, Warden. How you doing? And thank you very much. Right, this value. That one is significant. Last Goblin site. The wargs have a cooldown timer. As do the wargs, actually. And it relates to when they were most recently exposed to a goblin. If they are untamed, then that number has to reach 0 before you are able to tame them. Otherwise, they're still, like, inside of the goblin hierarchies, as it were. For right now, I'm just gonna close it off. So I can see if everything here is good. Yep, fine. And everything looks good here, too. Okay. Right. That should have some getters and setters. Yes, they are. Actually, looks like this is set just quite happily. Yeah, is tameable. If that value isn't 0, then you cannot tame them. At least I think that gets used properly. Let's find out. No, it does not. Now it is. Well, that is a nice color hat for your name. And I think this could actually go for Abstract Goblin Wolf, rather than just wargs. Which theoretically means that if you're attacked by like a Goblin Warg Rider, and you manage to kill the Goblin but leave the Warg alive, if you just make sure that they're loaded for long enough that their value hits 0, you can get yourself a free Warg. Without the hassle of going through the breeding by yourself, I guess. It's free doggy, yeah. I just want to set that to ticks per day, really. Most thing we've ever done is basic text games in QBasic and redoing your Tumblr theme, so you see this and you're like, magic. I mean, I'm in most ways I am more powerful in 1.12 because I actually know how to do things. But in 1.16 I now have access to things like mixin, which is code injection, which no one should have ever given me the power of, but here we are. Okay, so let's have a look through this. So we have the Goblin Wolf, or the Warg in this particular case, so if they're tamed, or they have an attack target, and their target is alive, or they're sitting, don't do it. Fine. Then we check for the nearest Goblin within 16 blocks. The nearest adult Goblin, to be exact. And then we just check if they're within range to, like, if the Warg is close enough to that Goblin. Otherwise, we actually start moving towards them. Yes. Like, once, I think. In which case, this should just be false, because there's no update. Which I think means I can just get rid of that. I'm pretty sure gold just has it by default false. Nope, it just actually calls should execute, which we should maybe not do, but it's probably fine. Okay, so yeah, all good. And then you just set that to null. We don't need to worry about the rest of it. Okay, that should mean it works. So if we go to abstract goblin wolf, and we should also, if we're going to put this into wargs as well, we need to actually ask, are we a mounted creature? Because that's also a thing that happens. Okay, what was the priority for this in the original works? Previously was priority of 5, just slightly more than following owners like that. There. Okay. So now if we spawn a goblin, the wargs should try and like path to them. Well, I just need to make sure that Jeremy Bentham is especially protected. This is getting to be a world of very interesting names. Let me see, the names we had in our 112 test world. We had Chell, who was one of our test kobolds. We had the zombie kobold baby trans. And then we had the invulnerable no AI chicken called Gilgamesh. What names have we amassed here? This world, I think, has the most, like, obscure names that I've used. So we've got Erebus, we've got Astoria, we've got Capuchin, we've got Les Enfants. Over here we have Jeremy Bentham. I don't know why I called him Jeremy Bentham, I just did. Okay. The closest thing you've done to coding is editing JSON files in Minecraft. Ooh. It counts. Yep, that works. That definitely works, I think. You're gonna lead. Now, is it only the wargs that are doing it, or are the wargs doing it too? Not 100%. It looks like the... It looks kind of like the wargs aren't doing it. I think. The goblin noise kills you. Okay, the way that one side could be doing it and the other one isn't is just if register goals isn't calling it super. It is calling it super. Okay, so that's fine. Fetching and follow goblins. Yes, good. How many tasks do I have left, by the way? Out of curiosity. A few to-dos and a fix me. Yeah, seems to be fine. A couple of these are in the works, though. Okay, I think we can say that we've gotten following to work. We've also added it to the wargs, because probably want them to be, taking care of this as well. There is a genetic... There is a behavior of goblins, though, that I need to re-implement, and it's not a pleasant one. Oh, and I'm like 5 minutes past my break time. Okay, I'll be back in like 10 minutes, everybody. See you then. Ah, we got too involved in this. welcome back everybody to the final hour of our stream tonight, and we're unfortunately ending on a very mean element here, because... oh boy. So you know how the wargs and such get spooked by loud noises? Well, they also get they also get physically abused by goblins, because basic goblin culture is not meant to be good for this. I don't want to fall into the thing of saying that, like, it's a standing thing that all goblins will mistreat their dogs, because I'll probably add, like, a genetic at some point to say, maybe don't do that sometimes. Because you can actually get on good terms with the goblins, so you should probably make it so that they're, like, not always terrible people, or else you're probably insinuating a fair few things. Particularly because fantasy has this big standing thing of goblins being heavily coded as very specific ethnic and religious groups. So, want to avoid that if I can, but for the time being, at the very least, all goblins are mean to wargs. So, that's what we're implementing to end our night. I'm sorry in advance. So let me see here. Goblin controller. I need that one. The aptly named Entity AI Goblin Warg Hurt, which is part of the basic controller for goblins, which means every goblin does it, basically. The exception, oddly enough, evidently, being the shaman. Shamans apparently don't hurt wargs. Interesting. Shamans are also more worldly, so maybe they've, like, figured out it's a bad idea. Maybe it's a bad idea to antagonize the giant wolf that's like 4 times your size. They punch each other for fun like perpetual teenage athletes. That just sounds like siblings to me, but okay. Okay. Now this is a very quick and simple task. We just find a warg and punch it, essentially. That all should be fine. We'll need to fix up that, but that's okay. Okay. I think we just need the... yeah, we just need the look target, I think. In fact, we don't. Do we even need that much? We don't set the look target anywheres. If they're a child, or they... there's another clue for us. Children also, by hard coding, do not hurt wargs. Which would suggest that this is a nurture rather than a nature thing. I'm just trying to dig myself out of a hole here. I don't even know if that function will do anything, but we'll find out, I guess. Okay. So they check for a warg within a block. First one they find, not checking very far. Looking for adult wargs that are not currently attacking something and are not tamed, so they won't punch yours. And then we do a 0 damage attack from a goblin, so we need to check with the abstract goblin wolf. If they are untamed and they take damage from a goblin, especially if it's a 0 value, they need to not do anything. Because otherwise the warg is going to turn on them and just murder their face. Which I guess could be an entertaining thing to include. But then there'd be occasions where you like come upon like a warg training den, where like a goblin tamer was like breeding them to try and get wargs and whatnot, and then accidentally punches one that lacks the genetic for not turning on its commander when it gets hurt. So just wiped out the whole thing. Which might be interesting to try and figure out, but a bit odd. But anyways, let's leave that as is for the moment. Go to our controllers. Warg hurt, there you are. Okay. We're basically just going to put them into a room with a bunch of wargs, a bunch of untamed wargs, and see if the wargs fight back. And if they do, we have the unfortunate task of making them not do that. Unfortunately, sometimes when you're programming games and such, you kind of have to program the villains too. Wolf hybrids that don't fear humans and aren't chill, I guess, yeah. At least we had 2 hours tonight of making our, like, wargs fetch stuff. Look, we even made a family. Look over here. The Astoria and Capuchin family. Like, at least we got that out tonight before we started doing terrible things. Okay. Now it's only a range of 1 block, so we need these to be fairly. We need this to be a fairly tight space. Make sure they don't get out. Yes, I named one Les Enfants, or which is a portion of Les Enfants Terribles, or the terrible baby. Okay, we need wargs, and we need goblins. Oh, just the 1 goblin actually. Oh, good, bright green, just what I'd like. Good news! They got their just desserts. Bad news, we have to make them not get their just desserts. Nearly instantly, in fact. They got hecked up. Nice. Okay. So in Abstract Goblin Wolf, we need an attack entity from.
Player has joined the game.
Hey. Okay. There was a boolean here, I think. Yes. So, if amount equals 0f, then let's see, and if it's like direct source. Let's see. Immediate source or true source. And the true source is a goblin. Return false. If we're not tamed. If we are tamed, then they're an enemy goblin. There. That, I think, will still cause them... That I think will basically just cause them to not do anything. They won't even react, which is not a good thing for us. So let me just see quickly how I did this in 112. Not the one I'm looking for. Apparently they just didn't. That's interesting. I'm not taking reference to goblins in here at all, actually. Hang on 1 second. Let's see, goblin. There you are. There's goblin. Okay, set attack target. If we're not tamed and it's a goblin. Well, if we're not tamed and it's a goblin, then we shouldn't need to worry about it, should we? target does not equal null, and target type equals goblin. Then just return, because we don't want to care at that point. If target does not equal null, target is alive, and we're sitting, then sitting false. Yes, that's the next thing. So they will sit up if they are given an attack target. Unlike wolves, who will just sit and watch you get mauled. Like, wolves will just happily take the hits as well. It's a different value, isn't it? Because set sitting isn't the same thing. It's its own thing. In fact, I think it's set sleeping. Annoyingly. Let's see, where's wargs? Because the warg interaction has exactly what we're looking for. Let's see, that's taming. There we go. That one. That controls whether you're sitting. That heckin' name. Ugh. There. So we can actually get rid of that. The attack does 0 damage anyway, so it's fine. It would just, as we saw, doesn't actually do any damage, still causes the attack, like, the get attacked appearance, and then still tries to set their thing. Then they try to drag their bottoms across the ground so they can defend you? No. Not unless your client is freaking out. So let's just comment this. Ignore attacks from goblins whilst untamed. And stop sitting when tamed. There. Okay. Now, unfortunately, when we put our goblin into that pit of wargs, it should punch them and have absolutely no consequence. As I say, I'm probably going to be putting it down to, like, a genetic variable later on, so that there will be goblins that just never punch, like adult goblins that just never punch wargs and such. And then maybe if you, like, ensure that those are the ones that get to breed, then you'll eventually just have a whole population that doesn't do that. But that's getting a bit into weirder territory with genetics, so I'm gonna stop that conversation here for the moment. Okay. Yep, having a bad time. You know, you hit 2 of them at once there. Could you show me that again? Okay. Good. Downside, we don't see the arm swinging, so it's a little harder to tell exactly what's happening. We need to fix that. We need the player to understand who is doing this and why they're just taking damage. Now let me see, is there anybody who swings their arm in vanilla that I could crib off of for this? Because I feel like that's just happening. Send to tracking and self on the server chunk provider. That would suggest it is happening server side. And yet. Yeah, animate hand packet would suggest that we're doing that. Anyways, if the world is instance of server, which if it's AI it should be. If the stack is not empty and unswing, Colbin tries to play the swing animation. Interesting. Is there anything that stops that element? Swing is not in progress, or animation, or that, then yeah, from the looks of this it should be fine. Skeletons move their arms. That's no, yeah, that's a different thing. Ripping the slap code from players. Oh. That's probably fine for right now. It looks fine-ish, at the least. Zombies also move their arms, though not much. Endermen slap you. Do they? Let me just bring up the wiki on mobs here so I can get like some kind of a list. At least now that I'm working 116, I actually have all of the mobs. So let's see. Firstly, anything that has like arms, I think. It's not really anything there. Oh, wait, no, the melee attack code. Presumably, that does a thing. Let's see, so tick. Delay counter. If delay counter is less than or equal to 0. God, this is really weird to read. Endermen have a small animated attack when they slap you. Huh, neat. Okay, there's gotta be a point where the entity actually like gets attacked. Try to move to, check and perform attack. There you are. It is literally just the same exact line that we're running. In fact, it's exactly what we're looking for here. The exception being that we just don't give them a damage value. Huh. And whatever the hell this is doing. God only knows. Okay, so ostensibly we've got it working just fine, it's just not necessarily working the same way. Wiggle their noodly arms. Oh. Yeah, evidently that's working. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry, wargs. I'm so sorry. At least the kids don't do it. Okay, so next time, I believe, we are working predominantly upon the warg tamers of goblins, which means we get to implement breeding, healing, fighting, and taming, all upon the goblin wargs. So that will then mean that when they are actually like in the world, when a goblin child grows up, they have a random chance of becoming a tamer, and then they'll be able to create wargs, breed wargs together to create wargs and other wargs, heal them like the player does, make them fight for their amusement, which is not as great in it either, so I'll maybe leave that one to the last, and also tame them in the first place, which will be where wargs start to actually happen. Evokers are the wacky waving inflatable tube armament. Yes, they are. The ones that go wallalalo, which is a Age of Empires reference, I think? Or Civ reference? I don't know anymore. I'm old. I'm old and it's late. Huh. But yeah, that's all I got for right now. I evidently need to do a little bit of tweaking. So let me just go to layer held item work. To do ensure accurate rotation origin. Because right now when they move their head around, the item isn't staying where it should be. So clearly the rotation point there is off a little bit. Age of Empires, good. Good to know. Okay. Right, well, hope you've all enjoyed. You can currently get various abilities 116 on Curse. You can also pick up just a campfire, which is another thing I did, which just adds a campfire. And that will give you access to most of the things I've discussed tonight. Obviously not the things I've coded just now, but most of the things, at least. My next stream might be tomorrow. Depends on if I have time, but there might be another bonus stream for CBH there. But other than that, on Thursday at 9 PM BST we have some Among Us, and then on Saturday we should have... Is it this Saturday? It is this Saturday. We have day 1 of Come Block Home on Saturday, so see you there. Keep an eye out on Twitter for exactly when that is, because I want to make sure that I'm streaming and doing stuff at the same time as other people. And then we'll be back for more coding and stuff on Tuesday at 9 PM BST, and meanwhile keep an eye out on youtube.com/remotecomic for videos, and everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying, where you can sign up at the $15 tier and get to play on the Patreon server, who gets to experience me trying to debug stuff live most recently. Hopefully not too often, but we see. But anyways, that's all I got for tonight. Hope you've all enjoyed. I'll catch you all as ever next time.